basketball. Give up.
They're playing basketball.
All around the world. To the beach, y'all. Let's go. All around the world. Y'all know. This is so that.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you once again for listening to another episode. It is opening day of March Madness. It's finally here. This is a football podcast, but we don't care because March Madness is literally the best weekend of the year.
We're so excited for this. I mean, I barely sleep at night. We always say we're not going to drink that much the night before. Next thing we know, we're out till 1:30. It's going to be a good day.
And since you can hear DJ like he's not in a McDonald's bathroom on speakerphone today, you can tell that we're obviously live. And since you can hear the sink running in the background, you can already tell we're at the March Madness party.
It's at the party.
So we might have some interruptions.
It'll be fun.
But we're going to make it happen. So thanks once again for listening. You know that you can always find us on iTunes by searching Loaded Box Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review if you haven't already. Thanks to those who did. Sounds like someone else just showed up to the party.
Party's rolling. I love it. I don't know who's here. Probably free tag.
But
that lives here.
someone that lives here might finally be here. So yeah, we have been going back and forth with different divisions. So if you missed last week's, we did the NFC East, and then we also ranked NFL draft running backs. This week we're going to be doing the AFC West, and we're not going to do receiver rankings until next week because we actually have our NFL most hated bracket that we'll talk about as it relates to March Madness. So the first team here, DJ, in the AFC West, the champions of last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. So far this free agency, they signed one of their own, a lineman that no one knows, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Yeah, never heard of the guy.
Top 10 name in the world?
Yeah, it's too many names, actually.
You tard, me tard.
Duvernay Tardif.
And then they signed one of the best stories of last year, Eric Berry, and then they just recently filled a big need on the defensive line by signing Benny Logan. And then they're most likely going to lose Jamal Charles, and it's looking that with signing Benny Logan that they're going to not re-sign Dontari Poe.
Yeah.
So what kind of direction are you thinking here, the Chiefs, for the remainder of free agency and the NFL draft?
Maybe they're going potentially linebacker. I know they were kind of weak there. I know that we're kind of through free agency, so we're not really going to talk free agents being picked up. We're more looking at the draft here. So potentially where they're at, what do they got, the 27th pick?
Yep.
Hassan Reddick is an option. And I know I started at linebacker, but one sneaky pick I like them taking is a running back actually there. And I could see them taking somebody to grab somebody like Jamal, like someone to replace Jamal Charles.
Yeah, like a
I just
Cook.
thought of this on the fly. I actually could see them grabbing Christian McCaffrey as a surprise pick in the first round.
Oh,
there.
that'd be good too.
Yeah, someone like that, kind of a weapon that they can do everything with. But
Yeah,
I don't know what you think about that.
No, I actually like that idea. I didn't really consider running back there just because they kind of have a plethora of average guys. But if you can get a guy like McCaffrey or like Cook, it might be more of a luxury pick.
Yeah, I think Cook would probably go before then. I would assume, but maybe not.
Yeah. Welcome to the party.
Welcome. We got another visitor.
Got another person entering the party. But you had talked a little bit about linebacker and a little bit about Reddick. He jumped up after Senior Bowl week. He had a fine combine. That'd be a solid option at 27. Otherwise, a guy that's getting a lot of buzz right now is Zach Cunningham out of Vanderbilt. Ryan Anderson out of Alabama. More maybe of a second-round kind of guy if they're looking at linebacker. But I was looking at it, too. The guys that they're losing are more middle linebackers. So there's a lot of solid edge guys. But if you're looking at a guy like Cunningham or Anderson, you might be getting that guy in the middle as well. The only other thing that I was thinking was, what about the idea of taking a quarterback at 27?
You think that early? Or maybe they just try to look for somebody that's like their guy that they like later, or second or third round, and maybe potentially developing them like a Garoppolo or something like that. I don't know.
It's not a bad idea, and I think that you're serviceable with Alex Smith, but he is who he is. He's literally not going to get better at this point.
No, not at all.
So if you think that you can surround him with enough talent, sure, maybe you get like a developmental guy later, but I don't know. If there's a guy like Deshaun Watson that's potentially available, I wouldn't be opposed to them pulling the trigger on him.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get rid of Alex Smith. He's going to stay there. He keeps getting you to the playoffs. He's a consistent enough quarterback. But eventually, you're going to get sick of him. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Eventually, his
Enough is
contract's going to just run out, and they're going to be like, well,
and what are you going to do? Make him the next Kirk Cousins? And
yeah,
pay him
you're
a
not
ton
going to
for
pay him
average?
a shit ton of money. So, yeah, I don't know when his contract is coming up, but I would imagine maybe, this might actually be a decent time to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
To replace him when that time comes, so they don't have to fucking pay him, and they can have a cheap quarterback.
Right. Well, a team that lost their quarterback at the end of last season, and it really screwed them. We both were really high on Derek Carr and the Raiders, so obviously they had that ridiculous matchup with the Raiders and the Texans in the battle of the backup quarterbacks. So I don't think the Raiders are going to be looking at quarterback, but they've got the number 24 overall pick. They shored up the offensive line. They got Marshall Newhouse at tackle. Receivers, some people thought was a concern for them. They got Cordero Patterson, who adds depth, if anything, but probably more of a return option than a legit threat at receiver. And then a couple of guys that they've lost so far are DJ Hayden, which is a loss for, once again, depth. He was kind of a draft bust, so maybe with a fresh start he'll be fine. Probably going to lose with Malcolm Smith as well. He went from NFL Super Bowl MVP to being one of the worst graded linebackers by Pro Football Focus. And then as of last night, Latavius Murray signed with the Vikings.
Yep.
So there might be another hole there because they're kind of like the Chiefs where they've got a couple of average guys that can do
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of running backs that they could plug in there, so they're kind of a dime a dozen. I don't value running backs that much. I don't think NFL teams do either, so they could just stick with what they have.
Right.
Maybe look to add somebody still yet in free agency, but probably not draft a running back.
Yeah.
They're kind of weak at D-back, though. I mean, one of their worst parts of their defense last year, I remember in FanDuel, I'd always look for a wide receiver going against that secondary.
Right.
So I think they'd have to look up maybe add somebody in the draft. Like your little Tease Tabor maybe out of Florida or somebody like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I like that secondary. The thing is, the Raiders, if they draft defense, they're upgrading their defense.
Yeah.
So the offense is kind of fine where it is. I mean, it can still, there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
But they definitely need secondary help as well. And maybe it's a guy like Sidney Jones, too, at some point, who's going to fall now because of the whole Achilles injury. I was thinking, along with secondary,
Holy shit.
yeah, we're the first beer is about a quarter of the way down, so we're
Did you already
not
drink that
doing too
much?
bad. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
it's only 10 in the morning, so I got my eye on linebacker though. They can still re-sign Perry Riley. The thing about Perry Riley is he's never been healthy for an entire season. And then a new report as well that Zach Brown, who was with the Bills, is going to be visiting them on Thursday, so they could still address that need in free agency.
Blow that fucker up.
Inflatable chairs for the big party coming here. Yes, this is all happening live, folks.
This is going live.
One other need, and one of their biggest needs, and I think that they might go this direction in the draft, is defensive tackle. Might have to go early in the draft as well.
There's no video.
Nah, there's no video. We got more people coming in. This is this is going to hurt our ratings because none of these people that always listen to our podcast are already hearing it live.
Yeah, this
so.
is bullshit.
But the guys I'm looking at defensive tackle here for the Raiders, I mean, you got Malik McDowell and Caleb Brantley. The thing about those, they both had really bad combine reviews when it came to the interviews, but they're both defensive tackles that maybe aren't as stout against the run, but they're those impact defensive tackles that are quick off the ball and create quarterback pressure. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about interviewing poorly at the combine? Is that something that should hinder someone's draft stance?
Maybe a quarterback, but I don't think any other position. Half these guys are stupid and don't go to class anyway. So
Jeez, that's aggressive.
I don't think that interviewing's a big deal unless they don't show up late like Randy Gregory and shit like that. But if you interview poorly, I don't know.
But what if
it's about your skill.
If you interview poorly at a normal job, you're never going to get it. So why is the
Yeah,
NFL
but this
different?
isn't like a thought job. I mean,
Well, you got to be smart to play.
Well,
though.
yeah, I
gotta learn
mean,
the
you have to
playbook.
know a few things in assignments, but really it comes down to your physical ability. So
At the end of the day,
yeah,
it's coming down.
I
to
hate that
physical.
line. You know that.
I say it just because of you.
You're weirding me out, man.
Well, let's move on to the Denver Broncos, who own the 20th pick. They're
Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
We knew he had to get something in,
You gotta
make
get the
himself
Baba
feel
Booey's
better.
So one of the more interesting things here with the Broncos is the fact that Tony Romo is still technically a Cowboy. Hasn't been released. Hasn't been traded to anyone yet. So the Broncos are still kind of in that wait and see mode if they're going to go with Paxton Lynch or do that whole Trevor
You're not gonna do
Siemian
that
thing
shit right
again,
here, yeah.
or however they're going to do it. But so far in free agency, they've gotten offensive line help. They signed Ronald Leary at guard, and they signed, Menelik Watson. Because they lost Russell Okung, and they obviously just recently lost DeMarcus Ware at defensive end as well. So are you still thinking quarterback's their biggest free agency thing, or where do you have the Broncos focusing their energy in free agency?
I mean, they're not really sitting and waiting for a quarterback. You got to imagine they're aggressively trying to get Romo in a trade still. I don't know what's taking so long, but who knows what's going to happen there. I guess we just have to wait and see, and then they'll address that as we go.
Yeah.
I guess if they don't get him, they would stick with Lynch. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what else they'd really do.
So my theory on this whole thing is for the Broncos draft strategy anyways, if they get Romo, they have to draft for now because they're obviously clearly at the end of Romo's career, got to draft for now. If they go with Paxton Lynch, if they don't get Romo, your draft strategy changes. You're drafting then to win in the next 3 to 5 years. You're probably not drafting to win now.
Man, you're drafting. Oh yeah.
So
sorry.
you can take you don't really necessarily need to go for need at that point. You can draft best player available, and by the time that they've been in the league for a couple of years, that's when your window's going to hit.
Where are the Broncos really weak that they need to address right now? I mean, their defense is really good. I think they need some defensive line help maybe, and offensive line help as well.
Yeah.
But they have really good wide receivers on the edge. They obviously have one of the best the best outside linebacker in the game, so
Yeah, just lost Ware though. Trade
well.
rumors of Brandon Marshall at linebacker. He's probably going to stay, but there's rumors out there. So yeah, like you said, maybe defensive line, maybe linebacker. But this is one I was going to bring up too. If they do go with Paxton Lynch, I like the idea of drafting a wide receiver. To pair
Another
with.
one?
Yeah, pair with
Jesus.
Demaryius Thomas and pair with Emmanuel Sanders.
pair with that's not pairing. Pair is two.
Let them learn. All right, try with.
I was gonna say.
If you're going round one, you're looking at that mid-20s, 27 range for, number 20 overall. You might get the speed demon, combine stealer, John Ross, a guy like Corey Davis. A sneaky name I wanted to bring up here, though, was
Sneaky.
Ardarius Stewart, and potentially in round 2. Just an all-out playmaker. He stood out as a receiver on a college team that runs the ball. And just looking at his, just the way he projects, I really think he has a great future as a slot receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't come up more in draft talks at all. I haven't heard his name at all until now. You just mentioned it, so that kind of completely forgot about him because he hasn't been on the boards that I've been looking at.
Yeah, I think it's just because he doesn't have that round 1 potential, and he's kind of flying under the radar. I don't think he did anything too super spectacular at the combine as well. So a guy like John Ross kind of stole the show, and then you got Mike Williams and Corey Davis who were like the preseason hype guys. So Stewart just hasn't really jumped into that yet. But I think he's going to come off the board at some point in round 2, maybe super early in round 3, and he could be an instant impact guy.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the team that did the worst last year, and they're picking 7th overall, and it's the LA Chargers.
LA.
So they tagged Melvin Ingram, they signed Russell Okung. So far they've released DJ Fluker, they released Stevie Johnson, they released Brandon Flowers. You could say a team like the Chargers at 7 overall could really go any direction.
I was going to say, they can go a lot of places because they couldn't block for Todd Gurley at all. Like, he couldn't
Right.
do anything last year.
Well, how about Melvin Gordon?
So yeah, wrong team. I see LA and I'm onto that. No, they sort of, I'm sorry about that. I'm off. Their actually line was better last year, so yeah, I'm off. I have to rethink, so keep going on this one.
No, fair enough. So, what we talked
Fucking
about.
LA threw me off.
I mean, they were weak at line. I mean, Fluker wasn't doing that well.
Yeah.
They ended up signing Okung. But I think at number 7 overall, you're not drafting an offensive lineman there.
No.
So you're going to look to the remainder of free agency to help that offensive line, and you're looking middle to late rounds of the draft. So what I'm thinking was, at that number 7 overall, I like them going defensive back, just because I think that's going to be your best playmaker and impact guy a 10-year guy that you're not reaching for.
Yeah.
They have the opportunity there to get Jamal Adams, Malik Hooker, if you want to go safety route. If you want to go cornerback, you're looking Marshawn Lattimore or Quincy Wilson. So I think in my first mock draft, I'm going to do the safe option and go with safety, and I think it's literally going to be between Hooker and Adams.
Yeah, and I know they cut Flowers, and Casey Hayward had a great year. He had like 7-ish interceptions.
Led the league, I believe.
Yeah, but I saw him with the Green Bay Packers, and he's just a nickel cornerback. He can't cover on the outside the numbers. So, I mean, he really he was a good nickel slot cornerback type guy, but if you're going to try to put him outside the numbers, that's where he's going to struggle. And I think they need a guy outside the numbers at cornerback position, not Casey Hayward.
And the thing, too, with San Diego is I think as a team, they led the NFL in interceptions.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean that you're good at defense in the secondary, though. You're leading the league in interceptions because there's opportunities because teams are throwing against you because they sense a weakness. So they did re-sign Jaleel Adai, so they have a little bit of safety help, but at the end of the day, you're still taking Hooker or Adams, and if you want to go to cornerback route, at 7 anyways, you're looking at Lattimore or Quincy Wilson.
I still can't believe these guys got rid of Eric Weddle a year back.
That's the thing, like,
How do you get rid of a safety like that?
Weddle was like that staple guy there.
Yeah,
so,
you usually don't let a guy go like that. That'd be like the Packers letting Clinton Dix go. I don't like that.
So that's why I'm thinking, like, replace him with Malik Hooker.
Yeah.
And you have your guy for the next 10 years.
Fucking hookers.
Fucking hookers. Well, let's get the live audience liked that one.
Or one person.
Everyone else is blowing up mattresses and stuff. So this is what we wanted to also focus on today with March Madness starting here in about an hour. March Madness, in the actual pool.
March Sadness, too, actually.
What's March Sadness?
Sometimes it's sad.
Why?
Because you start losing all the games halfway through, and then it's March Sadness.
But then you just turn to these bush lights, and it becomes March Madness again.
Yeah, but then what happens on Monday?
March Sadness.
March Sadness.
You're right, dude. March Madness is followed very quickly by March
Yeah, you
Sadness.
got three days of emptiness where you're just in a lull and you have to try to work. Fuck that.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I know it's only day 1, but who you got winning it all?
Tar Heels.
Oh,
Tar Heels.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm a homer.
The thing is, I would probably agree with you, but I'm gonna stick with my original bracket. DJ told me earlier I can't be multiple bracket
don't say
guy.
my other bracket.
So I
learned this from part of my take.
So I can only talk about one bracket, and I'm going out on a limb, man. If my team wins it all, I'm dominating the bracket this year because I've got UCLA. Akla. So, in honor of March Madness, we did a 16-person NFL's most hated bracket. And if you're following us on Twitter, you probably saw that we ran a Twitter poll that was the two people that were stood out the most. I would say that they dominated it. Was Tom Brady and Richard Sherman.
Yeah, and we didn't even have Tom Brady on the...
He got all the write-in votes.
Yeah, he got every write-in vote. All those Dolphin fans saw that.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you want to see the bracket as we go through it here, we do have the bracket posted on Twitter.
Maybe the most beautifully drawn up bracket in the history of bracket drawings.
You're gonna be jealous of our bracket making ability.
I put my heart and sweat into this bracket. If somebody tries to tear me down, I will kill him.
You'll see that on our Twitter bio. I think, what's it say? Unedited. Unlike any other podcast,
some gay
like
shit.
You'll see that we're unedited. We just do things and we go with it. That's why there might be a little bit of background noise in a podcast like today.
Shit happens.
We got girls drinking wine out of mason jars
In a
at
straw.
10 in the morning.
With a straw.
With a straw.
Shit gets weird. I don't give a fuck.
So, nice. Say it louder, Harmony.
Jesus Christ.
Nice. Well, let's break it out. Let's look at the first matchup. We got the 1 versus the 8, and it's the 1 seed overall here is Richard Sherman versus recently in the news for showing a couple of girls' titties, Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Sherman is easily the number 1, I think, in my eyes, overall number 1 seed, because he's like, oh, I went to Stanford, I'm so smart, I can speak out about everything. I can guard anybody better than everybody else, but yet he's playing in a zone only on one side of the field and getting burned when he has to cover somebody in man. I don't know how many times I've seen him get twisted on simple slat routes. I hate this guy with a passion.
See, I don't hate him because of his performance. I actually don't really hate anyone at all. I'll start by saying that.
I do. I hate so many people.
But he's hated by so many just because he talks so much. And I think it's because he plays for Seattle, who's one of those teams that's, I don't want to say they're known for having bandwagon fans, but where were all those people before Russell Wilson and Sherman and Marshawn Lynch? And
Doesn't it seem like they're falling apart more and more every year?
I hope so.
It just seems like they started off like peaked, and now every year it gets worse and worse and worse.
Right.
And this is what happens when you just let guys talk like Bennett and.
This is disappointing.
Yeah.
Is that what you got right there?
We got an inflatable chair that's not inflating,
Yeah,
so
not
that's
at all.
that's not going to work well. But I think the only reason we have Elliott on this list, I don't think anyone really hates him.
Yeah, I love him. I love those titties too.
Yeah,
Those
until
are some
this
really
week.
nice tits.
So yeah, until this week when
Those
Elliott
tits.
Decided to get his St. Patrick's Day party on and just whip out a girl's titties. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason I think he made the list, and I think it's clear cut. We're both going with Sherman here.
Yeah, I feel like we should revere Elliot for the tit whip out, not get mad at him about it. He's doing a favor for all of us.
That's a hot take. That's a real hot take.
I'm happy about
Well, you
it.
want to break down the 4-5 matchup?
So in our next matchup, going to meet Sherman, we're going Colin Kaepernick. Super controversial this year with his kneeling shit that he had going on, and now he's not going to kneel. Now that he's a free agent, he says I'm not going to kneel next year, so that's dangerously convenient. Versus RG3, who, I mean, he's just RG3. What can you say about RG3? I mean, he's got the no pressure, no diamond. What other dumbass sayings as he had?
And he's that.
He's playing for the Browns. Like, stop talking about diamonds. You play for a turd.
Yeah, he's that guy right away, too, that, like, in college, he was the good guy. He was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, who told on all his offensive linemen and shit.
Yeah, he jumps into the NFL, and he obviously crushes it from the jump.
Okay.
We got another person entering the room, so you
Just
might hear another
yelling.
voice. But I think you mentioned it. RG3 is hated because everyone.
They're sleeping already.
Jesus Christ.
Shut up.
He's hungover already.
And
Guy has no cares in the world.
so RG3, like you said, is that guy that was freaking telling on everybody.
Yeah.
Like people were going out and partying, and he was just telling on everybody. So I think he's hated on because of the fact not of what he does on the field, but what he's doing off the field.
I didn't even play the machine that much.
Can you put Nolan in his cage, please?
Yeah, we need. Shut the fuck up.
I don't even know what was said.
Yeah. Who do you
Yeah, we're
think?
not interviewing anyway.
Who do you
Who
think?
do you think is the most hated?
Colin
between
Kaepernick or
Kaepernick
RG3?
RG3.
Colin Kaepernick for sure.
I think
We
we
got
gotta
a
go
couple of
Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernicks.
Close.
I like Kaepernick. What would
Why
you
do
vote
we hate
for?
Kaepernick?
Not even close.
Well, not even close, he says.
We hate Colin Kaepernick.
I hate him because he decided to stand.
Well, how about this?
If he
though,
would have
like,
kept kneeling, I'd be okay with it.
if he'd have kept kneeling,
Kaepernick's just a punk ass bitch.
and then how about the fact though that he's
no respect.
standing up for all these human rights, but then he didn't vote.
Yeah, what a fucking asshole.
Like I didn't vote, but I wasn't kneeling either. So I think Kaepernick's taking it.
Yep, Kaepernick just took it right in the ass.
All right, so we got into the 3-6 matchup. It's Odell Beckham Jr. versus your boy,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
And see, I was trying to not think Homer because I love Aaron Rodgers personally, so this is going to be hard for me. But I know he's probably one of the more hated guys. That's what happens when you're one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. Better than Brett Favre. What?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
out there. That's why people hate him.
And I like Odell as well, so this is a hard one for me, but they are both hated because of different reasons. Odell's more of an out there show guy, fight with guys type of deal, and Aaron Rodgers is kind of this quiet, cocky, arrogant guy that people don't like. So I think this one's a tight one. I don't know where we're gonna go here, and I need outside.
I think people hate Rodgers because he's good.
Yeah.
They don't hate him
But
for
he's
for what
arrogant
he's
on the
doing.
field. He's got the arrogant,
He
and
does-
I love him for that. But I know I can see why it would rub people the wrong
But
way.
he always backs it up. I mean, he
Yeah.
had an MVP this year, and what did he get in the MVP race?
Like fifth.
Like he's hated on because of that.
Yeah.
Whereas Odell Beckham's hated on because he talks a lot. He's got that funny thing in his hair.
Hey,
He
faggots.
Jesus Christ.
You guys want one of these or what?
no.
We
He
need to edit out the F bomb. Get that out of here.
You guys can't fucking handle it.
he proposes to the net after the net hit him. He cries on the sideline. So in my eyes, like Rodgers is hated by a lot of people, but he's hated for the wrong reason. So I have to give this to OBJ.
Yeah, I don't really want to have to say either way on this one, because I like them both, and I would just
I like
sound
them
like
both.
a homer if I chose OBJ. So
Yeah. Well, I think we have to go with OBJ because he's the the 3 seed in this one. So we'll just go with it.
Drop me off my car.
How many did you do?
Well, let's look at the final one in that side of the bracket. It's the 2 versus the 7, with the 2 being J.J. Watt and the 7 being Vontez Burfict. You got an inkling on that one?
Well, I hate J.J. Watt with a passion, and I know Vontez Burfict, like, he's hit people after the fucking, he's had his controversial people coming across the middle and just crushing him and trying to end their lives.
Headhunting.
Like I'm going to do to Nolan pretty soon here. But J.J. Watt, he's just this all for show. He kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. He's all for show, make sure everything's in the public. He needs to be seen. He's just really annoying. He lifts weights, on TV, and he makes sure during Hard Knocks, he was just always on the. I don't even know if that was about the Texans or about J.J. Watt.
I think that was Hard Knocks J.J. Watt.
Yeah, it was just awful. I hate the guy. Like, I hate him. I was so glad that he was injured, and it's an awful thing to say. I don't care. Do not like him. I also, another hated guy. So he's always going to have my vote.
Yeah, I think right away, like coming into the league, like if this would have been a couple of years ago, Burfict would have ran away with this competition. But since he's kind of just like fallen by the wayside, and J.J. Watt, he's not doing anything wrong, but what he's doing is a lot of self-promotion, and I think he gets a lot of hate because of that. And I think we're going to keep moving with Watt on.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
I
easy.
think he's going to be, towards the end here, he's going to be a factor in this most hated.
Hey, who do you hate more, Aaron Rodgers or Odell Beckham Jr.? We have a Packer fan, by the way. Just so you know, I'm asking a Packer fan this
What was the
question.
question?
Who do you hate more, Aaron Rodgers or Odell Beckham Jr.?
I'd just say Brett Favre's the best.
This is why I said that Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre, and that's why he's hated so much.
We'll
so.
record another podcast later breaking down Rodgers versus Favre so we can carry on last night's debate.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the other side of the bracket, the 1 versus the 8. 1 being Tom Brady, 8 being a guy that kind of hates Tom Brady in Michael Bennett.
Yeah, Tom Brady, I mean, he's easily probably more hated just because...
Probably.
Easily more hated because of... he's good. Another guy who's really good.
Yeah.
Like, what does he do besides be good?
He
dates-
bangs hot girls.
Okay, let's hate the guy for being really good at football and banging hot girls.
And, yeah, that's the thing. Like, people just hate the winner.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, Tom Brady dominated the league, and that's why he's on this list. And I didn't even put him on our initial Twitter poll, but he ran away with the vote. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is hands down. We got
Yeah,
to
I don't think
Brady.
there's any thoughts here. This 1 seed needs to move on.
I'm really interested to see where you go with this next one. I think it's the
this
best
is
first
tough.
round matchup. It's the 4 seed Russell Wilson versus the 5 seed Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, so, I mean... Russell Wilson, I know he's a douchebag. He's another type where it's J.J. Watt. He's like talking to Sierra in the public and like, oh, I love you, and writing love letters.
see the
and all
photo?
this stupid photo of the pregnant thing, and he's just annoying. And then his interviews are just so positive, and Water fixed his concussion. He says the stupidest shit in the world.
Yeah, he thinks he's the
And
future
he's
of the
had
league.
like he's had his own teammates coming out and say this guy's just fake, like he's dumb, like it's awful. So I hate him just for how he speaks in public, how fake he is. You can know that he's not like that. It's not what he's like.
And that's what a lot of people hate Sue because of his actions on the field.
On the field, yeah, he steps on dudes. He's stronger than everybody else.
But you're not gonna hate Sue.
I don't hate Sue because he's out of
you're a Husker
Nebraska.
fan.
Yeah, so that's another hard one. But Sue is also very hated.
Sue is hated because like he does the things and he like doesn't own up to them. He's like, oh, I didn't see him. I just stepped on his.
The one thing that pissed me off real bad is when he stepped on Aaron Rodgers' calf, though. That was the one thing that pushed me just a little bit.
Yeah, and he does that thing that I hate, and then you're fine with it. But like when you're sacking somebody or they just get rid of it,
fucking
and
plow
you let
them.
all your body weight go on him. So I think Russell Wilson, if he's matched up against almost anyone else, he's
We should
taking
take
it.
a vote for the crowd here on this one.
Well, my vote goes to Sue. Who does your vote go?
Mine goes to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson or Ndamukong Suh, guys.
Most hated. Sue.
Boy named Sue.
All right, Sue is the crowd vote. That's going to be
Well,
a nice.
we're in Wisconsin, so it's kind of a one-sided.
Oh yeah,
affair.
Russell Wilson's never going to get your guys' vote, is he?
Let's be honest. Do we have any listeners in Minnesota?
All of them. The 3 versus the 6. We got the 3 being Jay Smoking Cutler.
Smoking Jay Cutler.
and 6, who
It's around a 64.
not
You know,
really
it's 3 versus
not really
6, yeah.
hated too much recently, or this last year, but
Yeah.
a year or two before that was Josh Norman.
And he kind of looks like a rat, and that really bothers me too, Josh Norman, and
he
his
looks-
rat face.
He looks that maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, I think the rat face pisses me off, and his little voice, like he kind of sounds like I think a human rat would sound like as well.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, I like Josh Norman, like as a player. Like I like how confident he is. He becomes a
Rat face Norman.
he always becomes a different character when he goes into.
Oh
games.
yeah, his superhero shit.
I, don't know, I like the entertainment value of that.
Yeah, him and
whereas-
RG3 can get together and do some superhero games.
Oh, with the Superman.
Yeah, he likes doing a different type of socks with superheroes
He does.
too.
That's right.
Yeah, a bunch of douches.
And the thing with Cutler, I was a Cutler truther for the longest time,
Oh,
and now I'm
Cutler's
just
the worst.
I'm done with him, and I think
Bears fans, hate him. I think Jets fans are praying for him not to come there.
he's the double hate because he gets hated on for his play, his interceptions.
Actually,
and his
Packer
off the
fans
field.
like him, so I'm a big Jay Cutler fan because he's
true.
been one of the best players for the Packers over the last 10 years, and it's been amazing. So
That is true.
I actually would vote for Josh Norman because I love Jay Cutler.
So you're gonna vote Norman? I'm gonna vote Cutler.
I would, but I think the consensus. What is
Look at
this?
these brackets.
We need to ask the people again. We got Jay Cutler versus Josh Norman.
Easily Josh Norman.
Oh, Josh Norman.
Yeah,
What'd
he's
you
a
say?
fucking turd.
Oh, we're split
We're
harmony.
still split. We need a.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, we have a girl that's clearly
Josh Norman's
not a big football
He's the same
fan.
person
So
as Odell Beckham Jr. They're both fucking queers. They fucking run their mouths about nothing, and they're not very good.
Guy's just yelling.
he's not
about
even a
things.
fan. Well, let's come back to that one when we get one more
This is a
person
tough
to vote.
one.
So the 2 versus the 7, the 2 being Cam Newton, the
Yeah.
7 being Des Bryant. What do you got here?
I think this is a runaway. I don't think Dez is really that hated. He doesn't play too much, it seems like. But Cam
Yeah.
has just really got a lot of antics that throws people off, especially the older white people and people like Jeff just don't like Cam Newton, I assume.
See, I think Des Bryant was hated really early, but
Yeah.
then he got his shit together because he has Cowboys babysitters like watching him, and
Yeah.
that was a good thing for him. Other people should have done that. The cat that went to the Jaguars
Yeah.
from Oklahoma State, Justin Blackman. He needed the Des Bryant treatment, and he could have been really good.
He could have been.
But
He had some flashes.
I agree, though. I think
Yeah.
this is Newton in a
I think
runaway.
it's just off of pure, yeah.
All right, so we're going to put Newton there, and we got one more random person that showed up that's going to be our deciding vote.
Cutler?
Cutler versus Josh Norman.
Norman, easily.
You're the deciding vote, Jeff.
Josh Norman for sure.
All right, Josh Norman
Got
with
an
the
upset. Got an upset.
Again,
All right.
we're Packer. As a Packer fan, we love Jay Cutler. So
We're in the Elite Eight. We got the 1 in Sherman versus the 4 in Kaepernick.
all right, we kind of talked about him. So I'm just gonna
Yeah,
vote
just
for
vote
what I've
now.
got. I'm going. God, most hated in the NFL. My more hated player is Sherman, but I could see Kaepernick taking the
So
upset.
you
in this
took
game.
both guys. Who are you going to take?
I'm taking Sherman.
You're taking Sherman?
Kaepernick, you idiot.
I'm taking Sherman, but I could see
Kaepernick's more hated
I
than
could see
Sherman.
more people saying Kaepernick.
I could see more people taking Kaepernick as well, but the fact that Sherman has a team, he's going to have a team, he's going to be in the NFL, he's going to be hated on more. I like Sherman.
Sherman, it is.
And that's not even an upset according to the bracket.
No, it's not. According to the bracket.
All right, next one. We got the 3 seed Odell Beckham versus the 2 seed J.J. Watt.
This is another one where I absolutely hate J.J. Watt, so I'm 100% on J.J. Watt here. OBJ is just a good wide receiver. That's
I'm already writing it down. Man, I got J.J. Watt
J.J.
as well.
Watt. J.J.
JJ
Watt.
Watt's more hated than fucking.
Here we
Odell
go.
Beckham, they said.
Tom Brady,
'Cause he's a douche.
who's the 1 seed, versus the 5 seed Ndamukong Suh.
I think overall consensus would be Tom Brady. I
Brady,
think,
nobody
in this
likes
situation.
Hey, if we wanted your vote, we would ask you.
I don't think I'm voting every time.
All right, this is the Loaded Box
Keith?
podcast
Who's Keith?
featuring Nolan,
Yeah.
Hashtag lick my knob.
the guy who cheers for whoever's doing well in sports. He doesn't have a fair
He
team.
sleeps during
so,
his favorite team's games. So
Right.
Recorded that podcast last night.
So we've got Tom Brady versus Sue. You voted Brady.
I vote Brady. Just
I gotta go
think
Brady.
It's pretty obvious.
I got to go Brady here as well. And then we got Josh Norman versus Cam Newton. I think you're
I
going to
think
go.
Cam. I think Cam Newton's probably the more hated. But I hate Norman more. But I think Newton. I think if I did like a general poll audience of like 1,000 people, we'd go Newton.
Yeah, I think I got to go Newton.
Yeah.
I got to go
agree.
Newton. All right, we're into the final 4. It's
Oh, this
Sherman
is a good
versus
one.
Watt and Brady versus Newton.
We're not even
Okay,
using
first of all,
the
I'm not even
internet.
connected to your internet.
We're gonna sue CBS.
Neither one of
Sports.
none of us are using your
Alright.
internet.
I
So
think the hotspot's fucking with me.
So, number 1, Sherman versus number 2, Watt.
Sure.
that's a really good matchup. But
Sherman.
I don't think I've ever hated anybody more than Richard Sherman in the history of the NFL. So he gets my vote.
Nothing.
I think it's Watt.
I think CBS Sports.
I hate J.J. Watt,
Or is it?
but I really hate Richard Sherman.
I think this has got to be us. I only
Richard
think
Sherman's
hand
always
people
my
anymore.
number one here.
Really? Because I think it has to be Watt.
I vote Sherman.
ESPN loads right
Free
up.
Tay?
CBS Sports is like hacked or something. No one can
Richard
do it.
Sherman versus J.J.
Sherman.
Watt.
Sherman.
We got multiple
All right,
Shermans.
I'm going to get voted out here. I
Yeah.
guess we're going with Richard Sherman. So he's got himself a spot in the finals versus either Tom Brady or Cam Newton. I think it's Tom Brady.
Brady, yeah.
All right, we didn't
that
need
was an
much
easy
there.
one.
This is kind of what I thought it would come down to. Richard Sherman versus Tom Brady.
Sherman for me.
Oh, gosh.
I hate Sherman.
See, I
This
think
is my most hated player in the NFL.
I think this is
I
where
hate
my
Sherman.
I think this
What
is where
happened to
my
Sue?
this is where my Dolphins fandom is going to take over, and I think it's
Lost to Brady.
I think Brady takes my cake,
What kind of cake does he take?
Giselle cake.
Yeah.
You know what you should have put on here?
We got to write in vote.
We gotta write it
Roger
out.
Goodell.
Oh
No, okay, I
that
was
would've been
thinking
good.
about this. So
Yes.
I was like, it's players, and I wanted to put like Dan Schneider
That's
and
why
Bill
people like
Belichick.
Brady now. It's because they hate
Yeah.
That's true.
I wanted
So,
to put Dan Schneider and Bill Belichick on here, but
That's
we had
true.
to go players.
Brady might be more like now because of Goodell,
Yeah.
which may give Sherman the cake. Are you good with Sherman?
I like Sherman.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like Sherman. I hate Sherman, but I think Sherman should win.
I
'cause
see
he's
what
the
you
worst.
mean. All right, well, it's on the bracket.
The number one overall seed,
The people have spoken.
Villanova. I mean Sherman.
It was a straight run for him.
Yeah.
So Sherman took down Zeke Elliott, Colin Kaepernick, J.J. Watt, and in the finals he took down Tom Brady. So
He had a tough road.
Yeah.
the Loaded Box has spoken. He had a tough road, but he made it.
Richard
So,
Sherman is the most hated guy in the NFL.
most hated guy.
Walk her
So
out. End
we're,
it, DJ.
so we're not going
Don't
to
do that
be
anymore.
doing receivers until next week. So thank you once again for listening. Make sure you enjoy some March Madness. If you don't have these next couple of days off, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Start doing that. You're a regular person, but you
Yeah.
got to start doing that differently. As always, tweet us any questions you have on iTunes, Loaded Box, subscribe, review. You know the works. DJ, send us out.
I love inside jokes. I'd love to be a part of one someday.